After you've made some calls, a few good places to look if you're a sales rep are in the Insights and History tab. So for the sales reps, they could go through and see all their past calls here in history. You'll notice on the left here, there are different categories for the outcomes of the calls. At the very bottom here is total calls. So that's all of the calls you made, no matter what the call outcome is. And you can see on the right here the disposition of the call that the sales rep ended at the end of that meeting. And you can also see on the left here any calls that were short calls. These are calls that are under 5 seconds. So that's like if you connected to someone but they hung up. Wrong number, no answer. If you reach someone and they're busy, and a voicemail drop. So you saw the automatic voicemail drop function when auto connect to humans only is turned on. That will leave an automated voicemail drop. Abandoned calls. So this is pretty rare, as you can see with all the calls that I've made in the past. Abandoned calls are when you're connected to two people at the same time and it basically has to hang up on one of the calls. Very, very rare though. Qualified connects are any calls that are over a minute long. This is generally more interested calls. And for these qualified connects, these longer calls, you can see the at the bottom here, there's an icon to listen to the actual call.
Hello, is Tim?
And there's all AI generated transcript. So you can see what was said. So this is also great for managers to review their sales reps calls. And you'll see any notes that were taken on that call, if any. But I haven't been taking notes. Let me see. Yeah, there. So this note says callback Thursday, March 6th. They were interested in our data plan. There we go. So you can also filter by dates on the top right here. There's a number of filters you can apply, in fact. So you can apply filters by positive or negative sentiment. So if the call went well, that's going to show up here. If it's negative or neutral, you could filter those too. Negative would be useful for coaching purposes. I'm going to clear this filter. Intent. So this is AI generated outcomes of the call. So we basically use AI and use the voice to text and categorize them based on what the next step should be, or if they were interested, or whatever what the outcome of that call was. And shortcuts. If you were calling on a particular campaign, you could choose. I'll get to inbound calls in a moment. Uh, there's the call dispositions that the sales rep manually selects. So you could filter by those as well. And, the two number, what number you actually called, which number you called from. And you could also apply a date range. So let's say I want to just look at my calls from last week. I can apply that as well. Excuse me. Let me clear this. Qualified connects and short calls. And all of these could have a call outcome. A short call, even though it's only 5 seconds, sometimes someone will say, "Hey, I'm busy. Just call me back in 20 minutes," or something like that. So if you want to filter by calls that were connected, uh, and it said, they said call back, it's important to select total calls at the bottom here. And then you can apply the filter for disposition. And they said, let's say, answered, asked for an email, for example. So then you could filter all the calls that had that disposition. And for me, I don't have any of those because I actually haven't been making calls in a while. And that's a new disposition that our company added. If you would like to call people back, let me choose a different filter here. I'm going to say that these calls required follow-up. And I'm just going to select these calls and add those back into the dialer. So I'm going to add all of these calls back into the dialer, and that way I could go and do a calling session focusing just on people that expressed interest. and you'll see that callback follow-up required shortcut is now there, and I'm filtering down all my contacts that are in the dialer. So this is a slight nuance of our platform. There's 86 contacts in here, and these are all the people that have requested a follow-up. But you'll see in the previous screen, I selected 85. That's because some people have more than one phone number. So don't get confused by that. These are the people that you selected and added back. And of course, we also have the Insights tab. So this is also great for sales reps to see where they're doing compared to others. You'll see there's an icon to toggle between the user and the organization. And you can see the calls that other people on your team are making and the outcomes of those calls, how many of them were positive, what their connect rate was, and so on. And if you scroll down further, you can see that the call activities for the team over time and how many calls were being made each day. And this isn't going to be active right now because my teammates, actually, two of my teammates are online. So, from a manager's perspective, the coaching tab is very useful. We can see who's online. I'm a bit surprised. A few of our agents have already started calling before work hours, very hardworking sales reps we have. You can see how many calls they've made today, what time or how many calls were connected, how long they've been speaking for, and how long they've been waiting for. I'll point out that on the Insights tab, you have similar filters that you have in the History tab. You can filter by date range, uh, whether it was an outbound or inbound call, and what type of phone number that you called to. Of inbound calls, back on the History tab, if I switch this, I'm going to clear all of this, and I'm going to switch this filter to all of my inbound calls. So when I switch it to inbound, this is how you would check a voicemail, right? Because these are all the calls that came in. You could see down here that the voicemail, actually, I haven't received calls in a while. Let's do it for the team. So voicemail drop, this is customers that called in and left a voicemail. So you can listen to the recording there. And you can also see the inbound calls that were connected and listen to those calls and have a summary, in the same way that you'd have with the outbound calls, so the transcript. And, by the way, call log, this is just technical notes to show if there was any latency or any technical issues with the call for reporting issues to us. And that's all for the dialer.